I guess I'll start with just like the moment that you got the call that you were going to this World Cup. Obviously not unexpected, nothing you haven't experienced before, but I imagine it was still somewhat emotional. Like what did you how did you experience that moment when it became official?
Yeah, we knew that we were expecting to receive calls for, information on who's coming and who's not. And to get that call from Vlaco was a great moment. I was actually expecting a phone call, but he FaceTimed me and I was like, oh, wow, I need to get myself together right now. So that was a little surprise, but it's always a special moment to hear a coach say that you made a roster for a major tournament and to be going to my fourth World Cup. I'm just as excited and anxious as my first one. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Let's go to Lakin Littman. Go ahead, Lakin.
Hey, Alex. Just curious, your reaction when you heard about Becky's status. Wondering if you've talked to her. And of course, you're obviously a huge leader on this team, but how does your role as a leader maybe change, if at all, without Becky? And then just a quick follow-up, curious about your reaction to Taylor Swift announcing your roster spot on the video.
Well, I'll start with the good news. I I was really surprised to see Taylor announce me, but all of the other amazing celebrities, influencers, and people so influential in the soccer world announce the roster was pretty cool. Give US Soccer props for that. And I think they nailed it with Taylor announcing me. I was very happy about that. And she had some really nice things to say, and I feel like we've supported each other a lot. So it was really great to see that. And as far as hearing about Becky's injury and not being able to come to the World Cup due to her timeline for recovery, I actually did speak with Becky and had no idea that she wouldn't be coming to the World Cup. And she told me that I was the second person to know and that she was still processing everything. And I was just already immediately heartbroken for her. Becky is not only just a huge presence on the field and leader on the field, but she's a person who holds people accountable. She raises the level of standards on every team she's on, and having played with her now for over 12, 13 years, I just have immense respect for her. And so when I got that news, I had to sit down for a little bit because I was shocked and so heartbroken for her, but also for me and for this team, because she's just had a huge impact on me and so many players. And I don't think that there's a bad thing that has come out of a teammate's mouth of Becky ever in her career. And that's a testament to her as a leader, a person, a player. And it's just terrible news to have right before World Cup. I know she's going to be our biggest supporter as we go to the World Cup and try to bring back home the trophy like we did the last few times. But yeah, I'm sure that she's still processing everything as some of us are that have been with her for this many years.
Thanks, Al. Well said. Let's go to Steve Goff.
Alex, thanks for your time. All things considered, do you consider this team the favorite again in this World Cup? If so, why? If not, why not?
I think that's for you guys to decide. I think it's tough for us to put even more target on our backs by saying we're a favorite or not. So, I mean, I think that at the end of the day, we already have a target on our back coming in as reigning World Cup champs. But there's some teams that have done incredibly well over the last 4 years, have made a name for themselves to compete for this trophy. And so I think I'm very optimistic with our chances with this roster. And I think that you guys can probably write a story from there and decide whether or not that you think we're favorites or not.
Thanks, Al. Let's go to Carlos Eustace again. Go ahead, Carlos.
Thank you, Alex. Congrats again on being called up. How is this World Cup different? Because you've made the transition from wonder kid to starter to main player and now to one of the leaders and veterans of the team. So how is it special coming into this 2023 World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, going into each of the last three and now this, my fourth World Cup is incredibly special in its own way. Definitely my leadership on this team is changed based on my experience and my comfortability within the environment and in the big moments like this World Cup coming up. I'm just hoping to make the biggest impact for this team on and off the field. I want to be on the field as much as possible, but I also want to be able to show the younger players who have not been in a major tournament what to expect, where the pressure is going to come from, why we need to stick together and really have this mentality of making it to August 20th and you know, lifting that trophy at the end means that it's going to be an emotional roller coaster. Physically, it's going to be more demanding than you've ever experienced in your life. And so having been through that a couple of times, I want to be able to share that. And I've already talked to some of the other experienced players, Kino being one of them, about how we rally this group of players of, you know, from ages 18 through Pino. I wasn't gonna say it, you said it. Just, you know, just how we can all come together and be incredibly fluid as we go through this World Cup. So that's my hope.
Thanks, Al. Last couple for Alex here. Let's go to Alex Ozzie. Go ahead, Alex.
Alex, are you there? Alex.
She is.
Sorry, I muted myself.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time, Alex. I really appreciate it. Zooming out a little bit, women's soccer has changed a lot since the 2019 World Cup, from your equal pay fight to other teams speaking out about what needs to change. I'm curious what you think this World Cup can do for the continued growth of women's soccer.
Yeah, personally, our team is in a way different space than we were going into the 2019 World Cup. Having achieved equal pay and equal prize money, equal working conditions, but it's not just us that we're fighting it. There's still a lot of teams fighting for it. I mean, you look at Spain and there's some players who should absolutely be in this World Cup that are not going to the World Cup due to the inequalities of their team and standing up for themselves and the future generations of their sport. So I think that this World Cup is going to be the most watched. It's going to be the most attended. It's going to bring in the most revenue that we've ever seen. And I think you're starting to see FIFA respect that and value women's soccer way more than we've seen before. And so I think that puts a lot of pressure on sponsors, on federations, on everybody in the soccer world to recognize and embrace that. And so I think that this World Cup is just going to be another testament to the growth of women's soccer. And I believe Australia and New Zealand are going to put on a great show.
Awesome. Before we get to Alex's teammate, Naomi Gurma, last question for Alex goes to John Powers. Go ahead, John.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Thanks, Aaron. Hi, Alex. Kind of dealing with what you talked about earlier. You looked over the last several seasons. You know, countries like Australia, Spain, Ireland have narrowed the gap a bit with the US. What do you think may be accounting for them becoming more competitive?
What can be what?
Accounting
what basically may be accounting for them to being more competitive than they have.
Yeah, I think the increasing competition of the leagues around the world is creating more parity within the international game. You look at England, France, even league in Mexico, the NWSL, Sweden. There's so many leagues around the world that are paying players more, that are playing through like more often throughout the season, and that are treating players in a professional way that we've been fighting for a long time. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. And I think just the growth of the women's game in terms of like, soccer is the most played sport in the world. And for so many decades, women were not allowed to play sport or soccer in so many countries. And so we have a lot of catching up to do. And I think that that's happening at such an accelerated rate. I think the NWSL has really helped with that. And I think the national team and our fight for equal pay has also really brought to attention kind of where the sport is right now and where it needs to be and how we can get there. And so I'm really proud of being on this national team for the last 12, 13 years and fighting for that, not only ourselves, but the future of the sport, both in the US and globally. And as much as we can support other athletes as well in their fight, we will. But I think that all of that combined is going to create just an incredibly special World Cup that people will be talking about for a long time.